The snake is a scaly reptile that lives on every continent of our planet. Only Antarctica is not home to these animals. Each snake is a predator because it feeds on birds, small mammals, hunts, and kills, using its own venom. The body of the snake is agile and flexible. Thanks to this feature, the animal is able to move freely without having any limbs at all. The snake flattens itself while moving, passes through any crevices, suffocates its own victims, winding them with its whole body. The corset of the snake's muscles is the main structure of its body, but it also has a skeleton. Snakes differ from other reptiles in that they have an elongated body, they have no limbs, their eyelids are movable over their eyes, and their ears are equipped with eardrums. The shape of the snake's body is like that of an ordinary worm. The only difference is that the skin surface is dry and covered with scales. The length of the adult body of snakes is a minimum of 10 centimeters and a maximum of 12 m. There are some snakes that are even more than 12 m long. There are 4 types of how the reptile moves. The use of one or another movement depends on the size of the snake, where exactly it lives, straight line movement. This is how large snakes, such as the python or boa constrictor, crawl. The snake pushes its body forward as it moves, with the reptile's skin contracting and its tail advancing afterward. Parallel movement. Snakes that live in deserts, where the soil is mostly sandy, move by this method. The reptile throws its head to the side and forward, then after the head it throws its hind part. The soil after this movement can produce a complex ornamentation, which consists of parallel strips and bent hooks at the end. The concertina movement. This method is also called harmonica. It is used by snakes that live in trees. The reptilian body is gathered in horizontal loops, the head part is thrown forward, then the body is straightened. At the very end, the tail is pulled up. During this manipulation, an accordion shape is formed, moving in the form of a serpentine. This method is considered a classic, it is familiar to almost everyone. The snake crawls in the form of a wave on the sand and water. An S-shaped movement is formed due to the contraction of the muscles that are located on the sides. The reptile's diet includes a variety of animals. The size of prey depends on the predator. But most of all, these animals like to consume rodents, lizards, their own congeners, even poisonous snakes. Some snakes have a preference for different types of insects. Because reptiles can climb over tree branches, they often ravage nests and eat eggs or even small chicks. Crawling creepers do not feed on a daily basis. And if they manage to get their prey, they starve for a long time. If snakes live near a body of water, they do without food at all, i.e. they starve for several months. Each snake stalks its own prey very patiently. The animal hides among the leaves or on the ground, near the paths that lead to water. The snake swallows its own prey, starting with the head part, because it is afraid of the teeth of its prey. Snakes, which are considered non-poisonous, squeeze their prey with the rings of their own body before swallowing, so that it cannot move. The time it takes to digest food in a snake's stomach varies. It all depends on the health of the reptile, the temperature around. This process lasts a minimum of 2 days and a maximum of 9 days. Digestion requires a higher temperature than for the rest of the life processes. To speed up digestion, the animal lies its belly against the sun and hides other parts of its body in the shade. When cold weather arrives, around the second half of autumn, the reptiles go into hibernation. They withdraw into secluded places. Snakes can suddenly break their winter hibernation, and therefore animals can be found on the surface. In tropical countries or subtropics, animals sometimes do not hibernate, or they sleep for a short time. When spring comes, reptiles leave their shelters. Their vital activity fully depends on temperature, sun, humidity, and other factors. Because of this, the activity of snakes may vary at different times of the year. In spring, the reptiles are constantly in the sun. In summer, they become active only in the mornings, evenings, and nights. Approximately twice a year, reptiles get rid of their old skin. This process is commonly referred to as molting. Thanks to it, snakes can grow and develop normally in the future. After molting, the skin changes completely, eliminating ectoparasites. If the snake is normally well fed, its skin can descend in about 15 minutes, forming a kind of stocking. After this process, the reptile can stay in the shade for a long time, avoiding the sun, until its skin is fully hardened. If conditions are unfavorable, the molt is prolonged for a long time. In this situation, the skin sloughs off in torn pieces. 6 snakes very often die after molting. Pregnant snakes sometimes starve. They become sedentary and cautious. The overweight animals are unable to rush to their prey instantly, so they stay mostly in secluded places. Vipers, for example, give birth in late summer or early fall. The number of newborn cubs can reach up to 8 individuals. In some situations, up to 17 cubs and more are born. The little reptiles have the same behavior as the adult snakes. They are able to move, hiss, bite while defending, releasing some venom during the bite. Small vipers feed only on insects. They like locusts, grasshoppers, bugs, and so on. When snakes reach sexual maturity, about 2 years old, they mate. The male tries to find his mate by smell. When he finds one, he wraps his neck around the neck of his mate, rising high above the ground. Sometimes non-venomous snakes become aggressive during the mating season, as they get very excited and worried. Reptiles mate in a ball, but immediately after the process, the animals sprawl and are never seen afterwards. The parents show no interest in the young cubs. For laying eggs, the snake chooses the most comfortable place, such as the roots of bushes, cracks between rocks, old stumps. For the young mother, it is important that the nook is quiet and secluded. The eggs laid by the snake develop rapidly. Only a couple of months pass and small reptiles are born. The newly emerged snakes lead an independent way of life. On average, a snake can live up to 30 years. Countless attacks on humans, from anacondas to pythons to the common boa constrictor, have been reported for decades. Many people have had to face these dangerous reptiles in the jungle, in cities, and sometimes even in their own homes. In 2013, in Campbellton, New Brunswick, there was a terrifying attack of the hieroglyphic python or rock python, lat. Python cb. This particular breed of snake can weigh up to 80 kilograms, reach a length of up to 6 meters, and easily kill its prey by strangulation. In this tragic case, 2 small boys suffered, who were definitely in the wrong place at the wrong time. They stayed overnight in the apartment of a family friend who had a kind of exotic pet store complex in the same apartment. The report reported that the cause of death of the boys was asphyxiation, and the escaped python was identified as their killer. On the night of this incident, a large snake remained in the enclosure not too far from where the 4- and 6-year-old victims were sleeping. It was clear how the uncovered python escaped from its cage, as a gap was left at the top due to the owner not closing the snake tightly in the cage. The python was able to slip up through the ventilation system, which soon collapsed under the weight of the reptile. Nothing prevented the python from reaching the living room, where it stumbled upon 2 defenseless sleeping boys. Photo. That python. In the end, the reason why the python killed the children was never determined, leaving many perplexed. Many questions and some skepticism arose because of this event. A snake expert who owned at least 20 such snakes in his store said that the incident was highly unusual for this species of python, as they are usually docile and timid. He claimed that it was not impossible, but simply very unexpected and peculiar. It was one of the most tragic attacks of this breed of snake. The python, which had lived in the compound for almost a decade, was immediately killed because of this incident. Surprisingly, many cases of people being killed by large snakes actually occur in their own homes. Snakes that are masters of escape can often be found outside their cages. These reptiles, which have been kept as pets for many years, are usually overlooked by their owners when they are not out in the open. In Oxford, Florida, the owner of an albino Burmese python was sentenced to prison after his pet escaped from his confinement to kill his daughter, Shania, in her crib. On the morning of the incident on July 1, 2009, a python named Gypsy was found wrapped tightly around his 2-year-old victim, its mouth beginning to swallow the victim's head. While isolated incidents in the past have not resulted in any criminal charges, in this case, the incident involving 21-year-old owner and mother Jaren Hare is different. The 2.5-meter raptor escaped from his aquarium with such ease that it once again demonstrated a complete lack of care and concern for his defenseless daughter. The aquarium where the python was kept was covered on top of the cage with a feather blanket. To make matters worse, the medical examiner testified that the snake was significantly underweight and malnourished, which may have caused the incident. Jaren Hare and her cohabitant were found guilty of manslaughter of a child, third-degree murder, because of the snake attack.